All right, this is Jennifer Huber speaking, and this is Module 3 for Chapter 3, Understanding My Community. I'm going to go through this presentation for you. First of all, I work for the Hickman Mills C1 School District, and we have a very poor district. We have about 84% of our student body on free and reduced lunch, compared to Missouri as a whole, with 49.5% of students being on free and reduced lunch. Also, the student races, average black student enrollment for the state of Missouri is 16.8%. For our district, it is 77.6%. We also have 7.9% average number of Hispanic students, and that number is climbing just a little bit each year. In the state of Missouri, I couldn't find an average number of Hispanic students per classroom. It's not a big enough number yet. All right, population characteristics for my district. Jackson County, Missouri has a population, or the Hickman Mills area of Jackson County has about 50,000 people roughly. We have a population density of 1,618.3. We have square miles, about 29 square miles. It's a city area. It's kind of, a lot of closed down businesses. We used to have a mall in the area that was shut down. It's kind of urban blight, really. Communication channels. For school and community relations, how would the school get in contact with people in our district? Well, number one way is through television. All right, local stations will let parents know when we have school closings, or if we have like a concert at our school. That's, maybe some football statistics, that kind of stuff. I think the primary method that people in our district get their information is through television. Next, internet. A lot of patrons in the district have cell phones, and they use the internet for news channels as well as social media. We do have a Kansas City Star newspaper, and then there are radio channels. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, though. The television is the number one communication channel in our district. Next, community groups. We don't really have that many very clear and obvious community groups doing anything for our schools. We do have some church groups, but they rarely do get involved in school matters. We have school groups like PTA or PTSA, also not very visible or public. Hickman Mills Educational Foundation provides scholarships to some of our students. Every now and then they'll ask for teachers to be putting money into that foundation to provide scholarships for students. There are various teacher groups that, teacher unions and such. Next, leadership. We have in our district a lack of influencing agents. We just lost a long-standing superintendent to retirement, and just this half of a school year, we're working on a second interim superintendent. In my building in the district, just in the middle school, we've been through like 6 or 7 principals in the last 8 years. Mayor in our area for Kansas City, his name is Sly James. We have Emmanuel Cleaver, and then we have Senators Roy Blunt and Claire McCaskill. I doubt very seriously that patrons in our district could name the senators, but they probably could say the mayor and the representative and who they are. Next, community leaders characteristics. We have a very much more popular patrons that they like Democratic leaders a lot more than Republican. In our district, community leaders tend to be African American. We have very popular mayor, and then the representative, Emmanuel Cleaver, he is a former mayor of Kansas City too. He is also very popular. Economic conditions. I'm sure with a lot of districts this is the case. We have a very much recession evident budget, a high number of kids on free and reduced lunch, Then I looked at some numbers on our budget. The percent of revenue in the operating funds for our district compared to Missouri as a whole. The amount of money coming into our district from local monies, that's 41.8% compared to Missouri as a whole at 57.03%. So we have less than average number of dollars coming into our district from local channels. That would be like, the taxes, local taxes that would be coming into our building. We don't have that. We don't have a business base to provide us a lot of local money. And also our housing isn't very, in the district, it isn't very expensive housing, so it's not bringing in a whole lot of tax dollars. State percentage of money coming in for our district is at 40.2%. You can see that we get a lot more state money on average than Missouri does as a whole for the other districts. We have to, because we need the money. And then finally, the federal percentage of money, of dollars coming in for Hickman Mills is 18%, and that's higher than Missouri as an average as well. All right, political structure. Can we separate politics from education? My position on that is it's doubtful. Standardized tests dominate the school mission and goals, at least for my district. We have a results-based rather than children-based structure. We know that we need to, keep our scores up and keep those students performing on those tests, and that's pretty much all we're really worried about. That brings up some of these ISLIC standards that I was looking at. Educational leaders, for Standard 2, educational leader promotes the success of every student by advocating, nurturing, and sustaining a school culture and instructional program conducive to student learning and staff professional growth. I'm not convinced that when we as a school district, and we really push these standardized tests, if that's sustaining a school culture or instructional program conducive to student learning. I think it's more we're teaching little test takers and not, students who can be really good problem solvers in a new economy. Next, social tensions, achievement gap. I put that in there. Our school is primarily black, and we do have there is a very obvious achievement gap when you look at students of African American heritage scores compared to students' white scores. And so that's something that it's not just my district, it's a lot of districts that work on that achievement gap and closing it. We do have a little bit of gang activity at the high school, not as evident at the middle school or elementary level schools. Behavior is a problem in my district. Students, I think we do have a lot more of behavior incidents than at more schools that have a higher or less high poverty level. Low performing school, we just went from fully accredited to provisionally accredited. But I mean, we just to say that we were fully accredited, that's not really, doesn't really say much. We still hadn't passed. It's been many years since we've passed or met expectations for comm arts or math. We haven't. We just don't. And finally, our attendance numbers, that it just couldn't carry us to where we could be fully accredited anymore. So we'll see what happens with that. But we do have that as a social tension in our district. And also, one more social tension that I didn't put in there that I probably should have to do with lack of parental support of the parents for the most part. And of course, there is some really awesome parents in the district that come in whenever we want them to, but for the most part, we don't have a whole lot of parental support or parental encouragement for kids to do well at school. It's just not culture for encouraging students to do better than yourselves. All right, let's see.